I am 26 years old and I've never had a sip of alcohol, and that's what this podcast episode is going to be all about. Now, a couple disclaimers I want to get out of the way. Number one is that this podcast is normally about creative people talking about how they got to where they are now, and then I'll come on here every now and then tell some personal stories. So that's what this is. Disclaimer number two is that I am not special. This is not going to be a thing where I want someone to watch it and get a take that, oh, Max thinks he's so special. Absolutely not. Disclaimer number three is that I am totally okay with alcohol as long as you're not hurting yourself or hurting other people, and that will always be my rule with it. So with that said, I'm just going to start from the top and kind of give you guys a little background from when I first started thinking about this till now. So I'm going to cover things like peer pressure, kind of how I feel around the whole thing, and my choice of why I haven't had it. And there's a lot of questions that have came up throughout my life around this topic. So without even me having to go ask people, I already have those written down. And I'm going to answer those questions because the odds are that you probably have the same question. And that's what we're going to cover. And there's a part that's going to surprise you towards the end. So please do hang around for that, because if you don't hang around to the end, then this is all going to be a total waste. And I don't want that to happen. It will be worth your hanging around. I'm not just saying that to bait you or something like that. So anyway, to start from the top. So growing up, obviously have been around a lot of people that drink alcohol, just casually, just, you're out at an event or even just at home, just having a glass of wine or beer or whatever. And that includes people like, obviously, my parents, I've obviously grown up around, and friends and just other people. So one quick thing to get out of the way too, for some reason, this comes up a lot. Some people think that I don't drink alcohol because it has to do with my parents or something like that. Absolutely not. They do not they are not heavy drinkers by any means. They drink like regular people drink. So please do not assume that, because for some reason that comes up a lot and I need to get that out of the way. But anyway, so I've always been kind of a rule follower, and I've always been that guy that if there's a sign that will read no pedestrian crossing, 4 people that I know will go past the sign, and I'm that guy that's not going past that sign. And going off of that, one of the first times that I think it was I had the choice of drinking it or not was in high school, when I remember people started having a lot of those typical high school parties. And I always kind of veered away from those. They just didn't seem appealing to me, if you will. And one of the big things that didn't seem appealing was the fact that I wasn't old enough to drink, and I knew that people were drinking. And that in itself was enough for me to say no to a high school party. And I think that's what ended up getting people drinking. So as soon as I turned 18 was the point where I noticed more and more people were drinking, and that still didn't seem appealing to me at all. And I was like, okay, that's cool. And I also didn't know many people that were like me, that were not drinking. I knew just 1 or 2 people at the time, but I wasn't actually friends with them. So that was a very interesting space to be around, as you can imagine, with people saying, hey, we're having this, but I just wasn't interested. It didn't appeal to me. And as a lot of you know, I do skate, so I kind of do a lot of different things, and including going to shows. So when I was 18, I started to go more shows, which there's obviously more alcohol involved, more of my friends are drinking. Everyone has a drink in their hand, or like I said, I skate. And I'm not saying this to bash anybody at all, but specifically skateboarding is something where, and I'm not trying to stereotype at all, because I've actually seen this happen with my own eyes a handful of times, but I've been around plenty of people who skate that I've actually watched get very trashed. And that was a scary sight for me to see because I think I was 18 or 19 at the time when I saw this, and I had never seen someone be trashed from alcohol like that. Like I've seen it in shows and stuff like that, obviously, but not in real life, and that was very alarming to me. And I thought, well, if that can happen to you, I don't want that to happen to me. And going off of that was when I started bringing up this conversation more to, especially like people that I skate with or people that I was like going to shows with. I started talking about how I like don't drink alcohol, and the thing that kept coming up was that I don't need to drink a lot. I can just have some alcohol, and so I'll get into that towards the end of this when we get into the FAQ. But kind of with that in mind, as I got a little bit older and went into college, as you can imagine, that's when I feel like a lot of people tend to like let loose, if you will, with alcohol, and will drink either more than they did before, or maybe they just drink the same amount. But with that said, I feel like it was more present when I was in college than I had ever seen. And there was just always people having a lot of parties is what it felt like. And so with that in mind, I was thinking, well, you know what? I've avoided high school parties. I've kind of avoided a lot of these college parties. But let me just see if I can go to one and step out my comfort zone, right? It's always nice when you take a little break from what you're used to and do something a little different. So I took a break from it and went to a college party that one of my friends had invited me to, but he was someone that did not drink a lot of alcohol, just had it like on occasion, like a regular amount. So that was why I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe this will be fine. And as soon as I got there, everything seemed like it was fine for about the first, I don't know, few hours or something. I was just talking to people and I saw some other people I knew. And it was cool. But this is where it gets a little bit weird for me. So there people that I knew and just some other people I didn't know started to get a little bit more alcohol in their system, if you know what I mean. And it kind of didn't feel how I thought this would like all pan out. Once people started drinking a little bit more, I noticed myself feeling a little bit more distant from everybody else. And it wasn't that like people were drunk, but I just didn't feel like I was a part of the group anymore. And it seemed like what everyone else was saying was something else, and what I was trying to say was another thing. And it felt really weird socially, to be honest. And at that point, I don't know if it's social anxiety or what, but I just could not wait to leave. I was like, I need to get the hell out of here. So I waited another like 15 minutes, and I just casually walked out of it because it was not my forte anymore. And I got really uncomfortable. And it was something I didn't think would happen because I'm not usually like that. But sometimes I still to this day will be in these situations where I feel that same thing and I start to get uncomfortable. And the minute I get uncomfortable, I just want to leave. And I think I start to get uncomfortable when there's a group of people that I do know that were once like chatting with me that are not chatting with me anymore. And I'm like, all right, this is my sign to leave. So that's usually what happens when I'm in these situations. So I tend to avoid these situations now if I can ahead of time. But that's not to say that I will not hang around people that drink. A lot of people that know me, like, you know that I like go out to like bars with people all the time. but don't drink, and I don't like leave right away. So I'm not saying that I'm not saying, hey, don't invite me to anything because I'm probably going to leave. That's not what I'm trying to say. But yeah, that's kind of been a real interesting dynamic of this whole thing. And I guess it's kind of led to some sort of social anxiety, but I try to keep it under the wraps for the most part. Now, real quickly, one thing I want to get into here is the peer pressure segment. So a lot of times when I'm out in these situations, a lot of people will go, oh yeah, you can just have one beer. You'd be fine. Like, don't worry about it. It's just one beer. And I'm like, I know that. Hey, I know, but I don't want to, it's not appealing to me. Once I drink, I'm going to continue doing it. So I'm just like, you know what? If I can drink what I normally drink and I'm fine with that and I feel happy and I continue to live my life happy, not that it's going to make me depressed, but you know what I'm trying to say, then I'm going to continue to do so. I don't see a personal benefit. You get me? I don't know if that's a selfish thing, but I don't see how drinking alcohol is going to benefit me. And when I say that, a very frequently asked question that comes up is, oh, like you just need to have a drink. You'll see, like everything changes. Like it's so different. And I'm like, huh? What's different? And I've never been able to get a clear answer on this. And I don't care if someone comments and has an answer for that. I'm still not going to. If someone were to tell me I'm going to make more money and I'm going to become a more successful person by drinking, then maybe we have a conversation there, but for now we don't have a conversation. Another thing that comes up, and this happens with a lot of older people I notice, where I'll be out and they'll go, oh, you could just try this. Like there's this one drink that like doesn't have that much alcohol in it. Or there's this like drink, it doesn't really taste like alcohol. A lot of older people will say this, and it's very strange because they know I don't drink, but they think that because I think it has like a residual amount of alcohol in it, that I'm going to be like, oh, okay, I'll drink now. And that one's very bizarre because I know their intentions are right, but I know they're not thinking because they're about a drink or two deep. It's a very bizarre thing. And don't get me wrong, it is a nice gesture, like in a social situation, to offer someone a drink, especially to buy him a drink. I get that. I'm not stupid. I always tell people the same thing I kind of already said, but I can just have as much fun as I want without it, and I'm fine. So, yeah, and I also, and for the record, a lot of my close friends don't peer pressure me into it. It usually happens if I'm out with friends that, like, introduce me to other friends that don't know about me not drinking. And so I'll say that I don't drink, but they'll already be, like, a drink or two deep at the bar or something, like, oh, come on, man, like, it's cool. And especially being around, like, people who skate, this happens a lot because people walk in with a case of beer, and it's always when people are a few drinks deep. So I don't think they're conscious enough to like accept what I'm saying. And I try not to take it personally because I know that. So it's cool. And I don't care. There might be some people that are listening to this that have like in the past tried to get me to drink, and that's okay. I understand. But to this day, peer pressure is never going to do it for me. Even if there's just no peer pressure situation that's going to work on me. Now, this is the section I want to talk about socially. And this is a very weird first thing to bring up. But one thing I'm learning lately is that there's a lot of people that will tell me they don't drink, but they do drink. And it's very bizarre. Because what I'm learning is when people are out, they say, oh, I don't drink. But what they mean is that they drink a little bit. So apparently I don't drink translates to that. And you have to say you've never had alcohol to say that you don't drink at all, which is a very interesting thing to me. And I'm not trying to paint one experience with this. This is something I've heard over and over and over and over and over and over again. So another thing is that I know very few people that are like me that have never had alcohol. And there was one time where I was at a backyard show in Chicago, and I can specifically remember this because everyone had a Dixie cup with some sort of alcohol in it. And as soon as I got there, the person at the door was offering beers. And I remember seeing this one person not take a beer. And I thought it was very interesting because everyone else did. And I was like, well, maybe this person doesn't drink. And as it turns out, I was talking to that person. It turns out they didn't drink. So I met one person that has never had alcohol that day. And I was just recently talking to someone that said they have a friend that doesn't drink at all. So that was really interesting to hear. And it's always really interesting when I hear of other people that have never had alcohol. Because like I said, I don't know too many of these people, but maybe there's people listening to this that have also never had alcohol. And I'd love to hear about that in the comments, if that's you. Or just your experience with other people who've never had alcohol. That'd be cool to hear. But let's dive into FAQ. Why not? So one of the most frequently asked questions that comes up is, have you ever been interested in trying it? Nope. It just doesn't appeal to me. I don't know what it is. A lot of people will tell me, oh, there's like a special, there's this, it tastes like this, you can try this, you can do this. Yeah, I know. I'm just not interested. I think no is enough. I don't need to explain myself. Someone else has asked, if you had a drink, what would you drink? And this, I said someone else, but I've had this come up a few times already. I don't know. I honestly, I don't know. I haven't thought that far into it. But yeah, there's not really any alcohol that appeals to me. Someone else, or a lot of people have asked this one. And I think I kind of asked this, or I kind of talked about this already, but people always say, can't you just have one beer and then decide that you don't want to? And I'm like, no, I actually don't want to just drink one beer. It's just not appealing. And another thing that comes up too is people will be like, oh, don't you think you're going to drink when you're older? And to that, I don't know. It's hard to predict the future. I feel like the answer is still going to be no, just because I don't see how it's going to benefit me. So, and I'm perfectly happy without it. So I feel like that answer is not going to change. So it's probably going to be no, but I'm just not interested in like taking a sip of one or having one. And yeah, I think that makes sense. Now, here's the part that's going to surprise you guys. If you've made it here, I appreciate you. So, I'm just going to totally reverse everything. So, a long time ago, my family and I went out on a vacation to this place called Turks and Caicos Islands. Now, the drinking age out there, I believe, is like 18 or 19, something like that. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a younger drinking age. And anytime I go on vacation, I always order a virgin pina colada as soon as I get that. I don't know why. That's just like my thing. And it was like one of the few nights we were there, my family and I sat down in a restaurant and everyone got a drink, and I was like, I'll have a virgin pina colada. Mind you, I am always enunciating the word virgin. I'll have a virgin pina colada. And so I got one, and they gave me a glass that was like, I'll always remember this. It was like that, and then it like bowed out at the bottom. It was like one of those kinds of glasses. So it was kind of a bigger glass. And I had one, and then I ordered a second one, but the second time around said virgin pina colada. I enunciated the crap out of that word. Drank it, and then as we were getting ready to leave, I believe I ordered a third one. Had that, and I also enunciated it when I ordered it very clearly. And then we went home, and I was fine. This is where it gets funny. So I woke up in the middle of the night at like 2 or 3 a.m., and I cracked my eyes open, and I remember the first thing out of my mouth, I was like, Mom, the room is going in a circle. And she's like, mind you, she didn't know that, like, she didn't know about this. And so she's like, oh, just drink water. You'll be fine. Like, just drink water and, like, go back to sleep. You'll be okay. And I drank some water and laid down and woke up the next morning just feeling very weird. And I kind of continued about my day. And it wasn't until a few years later I started telling some people this story. And I think I waited like even a few years to tell my parents about this. And everyone around the same time, I mean, when I told my parents, when I told friends, people started to say, hey, you had the spins. And the first time I heard it from a friend, I was like, huh? Like, what do you mean? And they're like, oh, when you drink too much alcohol, like, you get the spins. And I was like, what? I drank all... What? And I kind of freaked out. And it was from those pina coladas. There was alcohol in it. And I got the spins. And I didn't know about it. But that has not scared me away from drinking alcohol because I know that's a very normal thing that happens. But that in itself was kind of like, ooh, this doesn't feel good. And like I said, I was feeling weird and kind of sick the next day. So it just, it didn't feel too good to me. And I know some people will take this and go, well, dude, you got the spins first time you had it. So, like, you can just have it normal. You'll be fine. Like, no. Still no, okay? I don't need to explain myself. So, yeah, that's that story. But, yeah, hey, you know what? That's all I got to say. I don't want to drag this out too much longer. That's my little podcast on how I've never had alcohol. And I'd love to see some comments, even if you're just a regular listener of this. Let me know. I'm very curious on what you have to say about this. And hopefully this reaches more people on the internet that have experiences to share. So, that said, hit that subscribe button if you are new here. And there'll be more episodes coming soon. They'll be freaking fun, I promise. All right, talk to you guys later. Bye.